Yeah, welcome everyone. It's Monday, January 12th at 6:30 p.m. So I'll call the January meeting to order and taking roll call. Please note that all directors are present. I'll go ahead and read the mission and vision statement. I have it up. At Decorah Community School District, we embrace student learning and well-being as our fundamental purpose. We will, in partnership with our students, families, and community, make the world a better place. The mission of the Decorah Community School District is learning, thriving, creating our legacy. The vision of the Decorah Community School District is Decorah Community School District will be a collaborative, innovative, learning-centered organization empowering students to embrace their personal strengths and create their future. And the first item on our agenda is nomination of the board secretary to replace our retiring member and also to administer the oath of office. So I'll open it up for a nomination.
And I think I made it clear to everybody, there's only one candidate to nominate. I didn't mean to be funny about that, but we've got a, obviously for board positions, normally it's a nomination process, but for this, it's kind of someone who gets selected, and Denise has been selected, so, and has agreed to do it. So those are two really important parts to this nomination.
I cannot think of a, we are so lucky.
Yeah.
No, right?
We are so lucky.
So just for fun, may I have a formal nomination of Denise Goldroot for
I would
secretary?
love to nominate Denise Goldroot for secretary.
Wonderful.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So next, Denise, I would like to read you your oath of office, if you're ready. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of School Board Secretary in the Decorah Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to old business. The first item under old business is approval of the at-risk and dropout plan.
The at-risk and dropout plan is more comprehensive than we've done in the past. And we just identified the staff that are working with at-risk and dropout students, and we followed the preset guidelines from the state to come up with program goals and activities and student identification and all the stuff you see there in the plan. This doesn't add any positions. All we're doing is we're just kind of organizing it to make sure that we were categorizing the right people for at-risk and dropout. Not that we didn't have the right people before. We actually had it set up. We're using an older model, and we were paying like 1/7 of a bunch of teacher salaries. So this was consolidation for the business department's efforts. Probably the new thing is having a plan in district. We don't have to submit it to the state, but we do have to have a plan that's approved. So I worked on this, got some great input from the counselors and student support staff, and there's our plan that we came up with. So there's two parts tonight. The first part is to just kind of approve a plan, and the second part is to approve the actual asking for the modified supplemental amount. We will get to that in item B.
Well, I applaud efforts to formalize a plan in this way. It's nice to have detail and detail about staff that will be involved. Does the board have any questions that they want to discuss?
All these people play vital roles in our district, and for us to get the funding organized and in place is really important.
They also seem directly in line with the purpose of the dropout plan.
What does AP stand for Jake Limrod, the middle school?
Assistant principal.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I'll make a motion that we approve the at-risk dropout plan.
I'll second.
Okay, hearing a motion in a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item 5B is approval of request for $570,303 of modified supplemental amount for at-risk for the program.
and so this is a screenshot off of the educational portal. This is what we would have approved in the past without a plan. We just would have approved budget. But this is probably one of those things that got a little bit more attention with the transition out of SBO, and usually I would have just given this job to someone else, but I got a little bit more involved this year. So we're asking for the maximum because it's state funds, and then we have to do a local match of $190,101. But so the great news is you're getting the amount from the state, so that's always one of the first things they taught you at the superintendent budget meetings was always ask for your maximum at-risk amount that you can, and then spend it down to zero, because if you don't spend it down, then when they fund it next year, they reduce the funding. So that's not a good thing. I'll pause, and Joan, I know you jumped on. Is there anything that you add on at-risk dropout plans or budgets, I guess?
Oh, you're muted.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry about.
Nope, she had it. Sorry.
I think we
Go
unmuted
ahead.
about the same time you unmuted yourself.
Oh,
You're still muted, Joe. Yeah.
Are you able to unmute from your end? Or can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Gosh, if my husband had one of those, he'd be using it. As Tim said, you never want it. You want to have a carryover. You want to spend it down so that it's accessible for you each year. And I think you've got a cleaner plan than we've had in the past. And so I think that'll be helpful for us moving forward.
And I should say, Christy worked a lot with this to get the numbers for me. And we budgeted so that, again, not adding any staff, but we budgeted so we're spending more than the total of the two amounts, just because you want to make sure that you spend it down. And since, you want to assign things that are going to get you over the number that is created when you add 570,000 and 190,000. So, and we have that set up. So.
Tim, just looking at the numbers of students identified as potential or returning dropouts compared to the certified enrollment, it looks like it's about 30%. Do we have any idea where that stands in line with the state? And that might be a follow-up question.
Yeah, no, I don't have, and I don't have that. You know what, I would say everybody applies this different and how they evaluate, and so there's gonna be a big subjective part that I think it's gonna be, like if Ross says 30% of Decorah, then, that might be a little unfair because we might be just looking at it with a.
So those metrics are not established by the state. That's within our plan that we're.
There are some that are established by the state, but I think it's how you measure that then.
Interesting. And our match does come out of the general fund.
Yeah, it's like the special ed it's part of our tax rate, but.
Or special ed.
Yeah, I can show you that when the video gets done. I'm just about ready to share.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. Excuse me. I'll make a motion to approve the request of the $570,303 for modified supplement for at-risk and dropout.
I will second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, coming to the end of old business, next is approval of tonight's agenda.
I'm wondering, since we have Joan online, if we could move number 12 up so that Joan wouldn't have to wait for the 12.
Certainly could. I don't know if it's gonna be a super long meeting, depending on the other things, but we certainly could move it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too.
Sure.
Do you wanna?
Is that the only agenda item that we would need to have her waiting for?
I would think so. I mean, she may talk, I don't know if there's anything that she would add to the PEPAL election.
Or she may
Oh.
choose to stay and listen, I don't know, but.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, that's fine.
So I move that we change the agenda so that number 12 comes at the beginning of new business.
Okay,
And since it's its own item, we'll just say it'll become the new number 10. It'll come before new business.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second for the amendment to the agenda. Any questions or further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
We'll need to approve the agenda now. We approve moving the item.
Well, I think that moving the item counts as also, or approving the agenda with that amendment. I would consider those to be the same. Next, we'll move to number 7, which is approval of consent items, where we'll find the minutes from our December regular meeting, bills, activity fund bills, and personnel.
And I think of note, the personnel includes adding a position to supervise high school mock trial.
And I notice we have some of those.
I think that's of interest to some people in the audience.
Yeah,
Who are very motivated students, I might add, and who have done a lot of mentoring with our middle school mock trial students and are much appreciated. And from my understanding, have recruited someone to be their coach who does have experience with mock trial, and I assume they understand how much more busy they're going to be in their lives, which is really my only concern with this. Anytime we add more opportunity that are extracurricular onto the high school slate. But I certainly support all of their efforts to move in this direction.
and they're prepared to make a public comment during the open comment part of our meeting time.
Look forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
But back to consent items.
Yeah.
Because this was on the personnel listing. which
Yeah,
I-
there's on the personnel. Yeah, that's part of your items, but that's where we're at.
I do have a question about the bills. And it's not a question about whether it's correct or not, but I'm always surprised when I see how much we pay for electricity in our district. And I see that we have a prepaid to Alliant for $21,143. And then we have an additional bill of over $14,000. Is that a typical monthly bill that we pay to Alliant? Those added together, which would be $35,000?
I'm gonna defer to Christie and
Yes,
That is our typical monthly bill for
they
electricity.
come in
all month at different times, and they're always considered a prepay. I never want to be behind on those, so I pay them right away. Actually, they just came, the additionals just came in the mail last night, so I paid them today. So
And
yes,
we get bills for different centers,
yes,
so that's,
So
they don't
this-
all come, they don't all come at the identical time.
yes, and this one was specifically for, did I put on there, Carrie Lee Middle School, and then our old central office, which is a homeschool area.
Mhm.
And the top one was more high school. John Klein. But there'll be more coming. I just think there's something now, I just wanted to bring that up because it is something for us, I think, to keep in mind,
Yes.
especially since we just adopted a policy for
Yes,
sustainability, that might be something for us to keep in mind
Yeah.
as we move forward.
and I would love to work with you to set some goals around having an energy audit and finding the capacity to work with Curtis and finding capacity to see what the next best step is and finding solutions to efficiency and sustainability.
Yeah, and I, am setting up a follow-up with, one of the solar providers, so he's gonna include Curtis in that, and
Oh, great.
more than happy to include a board member too,
Yeah, I would be very interested in that.
so.
That would be great, Carol. Thanks in advance. Any other comments or questions about our consent items?
I'll move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next is our open forum, communication from the public. So I'm going to read a short statement first. The open forum is time set aside for the board to hear public comments. Comments are not limited to items or topics on the agenda, but are limited to matters within the board's authority and are not to extend more than 3 minutes in length. And per Iowa code, the board cannot discuss matters not posted on the agenda. Please also remember that comments are being made in a public forum. Any comments made that are considered to be inflammatory may be subject to legal action. And I'll set whoever is gonna, or Nels and Sophia, I know that you both signed up if you want to come up. And you're welcome. Yeah, you can come up and stand. You don't have to stand. Yeah, right there. It's perfect. And I'll start a timer on my phone and I won't startle you, but I'll just little finger in the air or something to let you know if your time is running close to being done.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My name is Nils Peterson. I'm a sophomore at Decorah High School. I'd like to thank you so much for supporting high school mock trial. This is an investment and it will support us all in our future endeavors. Many of our team aspire to be lawyers, but even those who don't will benefit from the skills that we will continue to learn in mock trial. Mock trial skills like public speaking, thinking on our feet, professionalism, and critical thinking are beneficial in all careers. There's no doubt that this will aid us in our future and support the Decorah Community Schools mission statement.
And my name is Sophia McGee, and I'm also a sophomore at Decorah High School. The Iowa Middle School mock trial program is the largest in the nation, and the Iowa High School mock trial program is among the largest in the nation. And these programs are so successful because of how enthusiastically the Iowa State Bar Association supports them. So as we were looking at putting this together, we were able to recognize that the total funding of all the costs of this may be a concern. So we contacted some local law firms on behalf of just our team from the school and asked if this gets approved and if in case we do need more funding becomes a concern, whether they would be able to sponsor this. And so far we have received pledges totaling $1,400. And we are hoping that this, along with any other pledges that we receive, will help with sponsoring the additional costs outside of the sponsor that the board has approved. Thank you.
And,
Yeah, just listening. Just listening.
the rules are rules.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well. Okay. Do we have a presentation for today?
Don't have a presentation.
Okay, so we'll move on to our financial report.
Okay, if you would look at, let's see, our all funds, revenue and expense, it just shows what we've had there. Our newest, largest thing is the capital projects. We did sell our bonds, the $10 million bonds last year, or last month. So those came in. If we look at the cash balances, we did get a premium on them. So it was the 10 million plus 13,000. And then we've also earned interest on them of close to 4%. We are transferring, we're going to be running our bonds through Viking Bank. And they've agreed to give us to match that ISJIT rate. So since it's 10 million, we aren't going to be putting into different CDs. We're going to have the availability, because once we start construction, we think that, you know, the money will be going out. We will probably do some sort of a ladder of the funds when we get onto the bigger bonds. But otherwise, things, I did have a correction. I think Tim noticed on Pepple and Save last month, I had the same amount. So that was not correct. So I had to go back and correct that. But I think we're pretty much in line for the year that we were expecting, other than now we have the new bond, and that's where the large increase comes from.
A large and notable increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joan, thank you again. This format is really easy for us to see at a glance. So thanks for the time and organization.
Sure.
Does the board have any questions for Joan or Christine? I'm not hearing any. I know that we'll be, we'll be doing work in the time ahead with all the school expenses that we have to come, and with budget planning, et cetera. So
Right.
thanks to you for all you do.
You bet. And I will stand as a guest if you don't mind. Listen in.
As long as you
Thank you.
wish.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. The resolution ordering the election on the question of continuing to levy a voter approved physical plant and equipment property tax, which we often refer to as PEPL.
Pepple, right now, the Pepple would expire in 2026. This is maybe a smidge earlier than we might normally have done it, but with the building project and talking to Travis Squires, was just an idea that we got this on the ballot, and so, as was noted, this is not an election that has to happen in conjunction with a November election. You can have your Pepple extensions and your Save extension elections at the couple other times. I think it's the March and the September. So working with Travis, and the recommendation is that we just go for it now, which then helps us. And we've got the bid opening on January 22nd for the new school, and shortly after that, we're going to need to have a board meeting where we look at what everything is going to cost and prioritize, and just being able to say, well, you know, you've got this much cash in Pepple and Save, you've got this much ability to borrow, and this much, that's going to really get down to the part where the board prioritizes and said, well, this is what we could do. And, you know, there's parts on that bid alternate list that we may not be able to do year one or year two, because we can only afford to do so much. But in general, we would be extending this probably next year, even though we didn't have a bond project going on. This is just something you want to extend and have for your planning. And we've had it for X number of, I don't know how long we've had the Pepple and Save or the Pepple levy in place, but I'm sure since its inception. So this would not be anything new.
And this is a typical fund that school districts all over the state are using.
Yeah, I don't know of too many that don't have I mean, I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that hasn't passed this levy, but I don't know when that is. And of course, one of the things when you go to the finance meetings, they remind you to check, when is your revenue purpose statement ending, when is your, and so I always check on those dates, because you don't ever want to be sitting down to build a budget in February and not have extended your levy kind of thing. Kind of like extending your teaching license or your driver's license. So,
Just being responsible with the tools that we have at our disposal for debt management.
The PEPAL funds are gonna be vital for us to the next few years for deciding for funding this. There's some extras for the school, so I think that it's really pertinent for us to make sure that the funds will be in place. One question I do have just for voters, where will the location be?
that would be a Ben Stein's question. I assume it'll just be one location, like courthouse, but I will work with Ben and give that information out the next week or so.
And just for public information too, PEPAL is not only for new construction type projects, but this is a fund that, you know, during my whole first term on the board, we used for ongoing maintenance and projects and roofs.
Roofs, buses, technology, yeah,
They have to be capital projects
yeah,
or maintenance type,
yep, yep,
long-term maintenance.
yeah, exactly.
Are we comfortable with the March? I'm assuming the turnout's gonna be pretty low respectively compared to a general election.
Yeah, I would think so.
So does the motion language have to follow that? What's in the agenda?
You know, anytime I get this from others and Cooley being as their lawyers and they do this for a living, I was showing Denise, I'll copy the language and put it in the board agenda and then I'll forward it back to them and say, does this look correct? Because I don't want to put something in wrong. So yes, I would follow the language. Or you can say as presented.
I will motion to approve the resolution ordering election on the question of continuing to levy a voter approved physical plant and equipment property tax as included in the agenda, as presented in the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, and this is an item that we'll do a roll call on. And so Denise, you can go ahead and do a roll call around each board director.
What was that? Sorry.
You can proceed with the roll call and call in each board director. with
Okay.
their name, and they'll say
I don't think there's any, I watch other boards do it and they don't ever go in order. I think city council likes to mix it up, be fun, so don't feel bad if you don't have alphabetical order memorized.
I'm just gonna go around the table. Lily,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
and Brad.
Aye.
Okay, and next item B is set public hearings for the 2026 and 27 type of calendar, hours or days. School calendar, and set a budget hearing for the 26-27 school budget.
And so just as a reminder, these are the items that we put on the agenda for approval, but we have a public hearing prior. Either at the beginning of that meeting or the meeting before. And so the school calendar, when there's a draft to look at, but we'd like to have that where we talk about what type of calendar, whether it be in hours or days. And then the actual calendar, we'd like to approve that at next month's meeting on Monday, February 9th, 2026. And I'm gonna just type in at 6:30 p.m. because you want to be as specific as possible. And then the second one is we went to, I think we're 2 years now into having two board school budget hearings. So what has to happen is we have to get the school budget done. We have to get it in the paper. It's got to be in the paper 10 days before the meeting. And so we just have to kind of put our puzzles together. And I believe the upload date is about April 15th. And so kind of working backwards, if we have our second meeting, which would be the board meeting on April 13th, then we could have the first one either March 23rd or 30th. And the first one, the last couple of years we've done at noon. I had option A works the best for me because March 30th I'm at individual speech in Cedar Falls, but I could certainly join virtually too if or make sure I'm back. But so the first meeting If it would be like previous years, it might be a 5 or 10 minute noon meeting, and then the second one is part of a board agenda.
The 23rd worked better for me than the 30th.
Can we talk about option C, doing it in April, 2 meetings in April?
Yeah, I've got I don't want, I'm gonna ask Christie or Joan, when do we have to have it done by and uploaded? Is it April? Do I have it right? Is it April 15th? Because I don't know why I would have given that option, but
I think it is.
for some
Yeah, I
reason.
think it would be uploaded. I think you could do an approval, like if you had a, an amendment or something, you can do that afterwards, but no, we would want it. I would prefer that you had it earlier. I think that would be best.
So let's just pretend I didn't give options.
Okay.
Sorry.
A works better for me.
I have no opinion.
We'll make whatever work. Yeah.
Same.
Sounds like option A.
I just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to set our first budget hearing on Monday, March 23rd. And then the second one on Monday, April 13th.
We should probably make sure the Monday, the 23rd is at noon, and then April 23rd, we be back to the 5:30 time.
Mhm.
Oh, that's when we change our times. Yeah, so Monday and Monday the 23rd at noon and Monday, April 13th at 5:30.
I'll second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Now I'm gonna ask for the board to make a recommendation on the calendar hearings.
Okay. And that is, so it's the same,
It's just like I'd recommend that we do the
okay, so
public hearing for the type of calendar and the actual calendar for Monday, February 9th at 6:30 p.m.
okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very fine.
I'll make a motion that we set public hearings for the type of calendar and the school calendar itself for Monday, February 9th at 6:30 p.m. For 2026-2027 calendar.
I'll second.
okay, hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion?
That is our regular board meeting, so we'll just have the public.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
What time was that?
Okay, 6:30.
Okay, move to a vote, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, now moving on to item C, reviewing the first draft of the school calendar for the school year 2026 to 27. And this will be a unique school year because we need a long summer during the summer of 2027, hoping to move into a brand new school before school begins for the fall of the 27-28 school year. So there is a uniquely early dismissal in May. That's one thing to think about with this calendar. Any other notes?
Well, and then the 27-28, they would really like to have just an extra week cushion on the start of school. And I haven't, of course, looked at that, but just it sounds like we would have access to parts of the new school March or April. Like we could possibly start moving stuff in. But they're going to open up different segments of the building. And I don't have those dates memorized, but I know the office was one that was kind of early, and so what we'll have to do is have teachers box up stuff and have it labeled and move to the
Well,
section.
and I'm sure those dates are subject to change somewhat.
Oh,
Hoping everything will perfectly stay on schedule, I'm certain, but
Be the first project I ever seen of it.
and just as kind of a refresher, the other part about the school is we have to get everything out so that they can demo it, and then they have to go in and do the abatement, and then they demo the building. So there are a few steps there, and then of course, demoing the building then paves the way for paving and tennis courts and parking lots and stuff like that, which will also be needed. But talking about the highlights of the calendar, just a reminder that schools cannot start before August 23rd. per state law. And so we worked with the admin team on this and then shared it with district leadership team. Admin team meets this Thursday, so we'll look at it one more time. But so if we start on the 24th, obviously there's a lot of colors going on, but the purples are the holidays. So you've got, Memorial Day or Labor Day, excuse me, and Thanksgiving. We used to have a TQ PD day in October, which did break up that time span, and we got rid of that this year. We didn't know, staff didn't know, but that made a long stretch. So that's one thing that we'll talk about on Thursday. I will say, the high school, I think they're going to continue, but is now doing first semester getting done by Christmas. And so giving them an extra day or two is also a benefit there, but it makes up for a long haul. And so that's one thing that we want to look at. We are using, as we did this year, we're using the conference comp day from the November conferences, and then we placed it, because we have a PD day that Friday, we did place it on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which was pretty favorable. One of the changes the calendar made was we had more PD days in January than December. And one of the things that district leadership team politely but forcefully said was, don't have school on December 23rd. Wasn't in a threatening manner, but it was pretty, I mean, there was no.
That's correct.
It was direct, yeah.
But in-service is okay?
Well, so that'll be the virtual PD day that we've done when we come back. So if everything's done, you're walking out of the building on the 22nd. Instead of trying to put it on January 4th or something like that. And that just is kind of the shifting of where those days were. And, looking back on this year's calendar, I know there's some pros and cons in having school on that week of Christmas. So having that school on that Monday and Tuesday, obviously with Christmas sliding to Saturday or Friday, it feels a little different. But some school districts didn't do that and had a two full weeks. I would just say we like to hold on to those 2 days, especially with looking at with our construction and getting out. So I'm not ready quite to give up on that. And other than that, the spring conferences are at different times, and I think I have the correct time for the high school now. We're kind of really short on those breaks and stuff. This has a last day of Tuesday, May 18th, knowing that we'll surely have some slow days and could easily go to Friday the 21st. And at the point where we got past that, we might have a discussion, depending on how many snow days we have, of course. But kind of trying to keep in mind about the construction project, and if it's 1 or 2 days, we might be creative, as we did this year when we forgave those extra snow days.
That final teacher in service day, that just bumps to the day after the last day of school.
Yeah. So that would technically be the 25th. Yeah, or right now school's done on the 18th, then it's the 19th, but it just slides with the snow is. It's a good one.
Can I just ask you to clarify a little bit more about the TQ day, or do we no longer have the funds to do a TQ? They use another way?
We did that as a budget cut, so we took the $35,000 we used to spend on that PD day, and we're not going to spend it, and we're going to use it as a budget reduction. That was a discussion with staff and the TQ committee, and we had mixed results on that PD day because it was an unpaid day, so staff weren't required to come, and some people got to October and did, we're like, well, whatever the amount that you're gonna pay me, I'd rather just have a day off. So then that made it kind of tough for staff to administer PD, and we're not gonna put any principals on the spot, but some of them, the feedback was, this is really tough to do something and expect, how do you expect all learning when it's truly an optional day for staff? And I don't mean that as not saying those comments derogatory towards staff or professionalism or anything. It's literally it's a day you don't have to attend. So,
right, yeah.
I can get that, where people are like, yeah, that's, it's a free day, so I'm going to plan something fun. So So we removed that and, you know, kind of in the confines of last year, when we talked about budget cuts, so we earmarked $35,000 in TQ and shifted it. So we'll do what's called a flex spending account and move it to our general fund in the summertime. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the thing I caught when I read it the first time already, but there is a very long stretch there from Labor Day all the way until November 6th, almost 10 full weeks without a single day off. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that is a long stretch. So just be
Yeah.
cognizant.
Yeah, and you know, your solutions are you probably take one of the pre-service days off and put it there. But then that's just gonna add one more day to the end of the school year. And so those are discussions that we'll have on Thursday when we get together as admin.
Yeah, well, thank you for listening to the admin team. It seems like you know, recommendations have already been taken with this first.
Yeah,
quarter, so-
and district leadership team and, yeah, so.
And DEA also, right?
Well,
They-
DEA's on district
District
leadership,
leadership.
yeah, but
So there's a date where you can't start before the 23rd. Is there a date you have to start by?
no.
Okay.
And just to clarify and not to muddy too much, but I will. You could technically, it's been pointed out, you could start school October 21st. You just couldn't count that towards student attendance hours.
August 21st.
August 21st.
Yeah.
So you could start school on Friday, but whatever hours you went to, you wouldn't be able to put into your bank of 1,080. And so the question would be, why would you do that? Well, if you were a school district that had a calendar with lots of hours in it, which we're not. And if you saw the value to having a day, which I do, well, just to kind of get everybody in your locker, get everything sorted out, but that wasn't super popular when I brought it up to people. That's maybe thinking outside the box a little too much.
And this is a review of the first draft, so we don't need to take formal action on this, but before
Yeah, my only
the
other
next.
piece of feedback would be I heard some feedback from some parents that the 5 days, the full week of school, the first week of school was somewhat rough for the younger age groups. And I can't speak for the high schoolers, but middle, but
Might be even tougher for the high school.
Well,
I was like,
nobody
I
in
don't
the
wanna
audience has to raise their hand.
but it's my only other observation.
And it might not just be the students either.
It couldn't probably be anybody's first choice, but I think
No.
that's kind of it.
No.
It is what it is.
No, this year, the year we're in currently and next year, I'm sure lots of people will do that. Yeah, it's not my favorite as a former elementary teacher and principal. I would at least like to ease into the grind, but. So.
Any final comments? Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is approval of interagency agreements.
We just have one to approve, and it's for a student that's going to Clayton Ridge. This is a student's information has been taken off, but this is just a student that's open enrolled to Clayton Ridge. We've done that. We've done a couple of these before. We had not been approving those, but Joan that was one of the questions she had, and I agreed with her that I thought it should be on board agenda, although it's not something the board can say no to. So
Just have a paper trail.
yeah, do you have a paper trail that says, yes, you're going to pay for your student to receive IEP services in another district?
So if this student is attending the Berthiel Academy through Clayton Ridge, how are they providing special ed services to them?
That I don't know. I could probably get you that offline. I see Mrs. Smith in the audience, might be able to answer better than, if you could do so generically, without identifying a student, which I'm sure you could.
Yeah, so they have an intake process. All of the virtual schools have an intake process to determine whether they can serve them virtually. And if they say yes, then they will accept them. And then they do that through a digital platform, like Zoom or something. Each online school does a little bit different, but I believe that's helping.
So they they've already processed the bid.
Yep.
Yeah, provide the
Yep, so
necessary.
typically they would ask the resident district or somebody from the AEA to be involved and that has knowledge of the student's IEP to be able to discuss whether or not those services really could be provided. And so sometimes we see denials before they would ever make it to the board, and other times they make it to the board because they feel they can serve them.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the interagency agreement with Baton Rouge Community School District.
I'll second.
Okay, hearing a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is approval of an MOU with DEA on service leave.
So an MOU is just a memorandum of understanding, and we use these when we can come to an agreement with the association. We want to make a change with master contract without opening up the whole contract of bargaining, which we typically do once a year. And this was the start of cleaning up some language we had on service leave. One thing that's happened, we've maybe had more staff that require or have requested service leave in the last couple of years. And it's kind of, we call it service leave. If you were at a college, you'd probably call it a sabbatical, where you can, if you've got 10 years in the district, you can take up to 2 years of service leave. Now, what's new, the new part is you had to notify the board by March 1st if you wanted to take service leave. And so it said, you know, you're granted the service leave provided we can find a suitable replacement. Well, we never had a date for when we could find a suitable replacement. And so we added in the May 1st district notification just to kind of clean that up, and so that both us and the staff member requesting it would know. We don't want to get into a situation where, you know, if you don't have a date and the staff member is like, well, I want you to keep looking because I really want to take my service leave. And then you know, get to July 1st and the staff members, you know, by that time says, no, I don't want to come back, then it's way too late in the hiring process. And that's probably more of a function of the times as well. So they may have had service leave in the past and maybe not having a date where it's established suitable replacement. Maybe that wasn't a big deal. That certainly is a big deal now. And then the second part, and it was kind of germane to the staff member who were requested the second year now, was just asking staff members, if you're on a service leave, or putting in language when, so we've hired somebody for your position. When do you have to tell us again if you're going to have a second year or come back? And so keeping in mind that you've got somebody on a 1-year replacement contract for that person, they need to know, in fairness to them, they need to know what they're doing a year from now. And February 1st seemed like, well, probably it should maybe even be in a future, even earlier date, but just so that, in fairness to the district who has to find somebody, in fairness to the replacement teacher, and in fairness to everybody involved, we want to have that date put in, established. I met with the DEA, they agreed to it and signed off on it. And so I shared it with the teacher who's on service leave, and then he submitted a request for a second year already. So you saw that in the personnel. So a lot of talking to get to the point where we're just trying to make it so that we're crystal clear on what we're doing and what's allowed.
And the strength of our policy will only help our staff that are using the policy and our admin team that are implementing it. So yeah, I appreciate cleaning up as much as we can and being specific as possible.
Yeah, having specific dates in there is really important. So that's very good. Yeah.
So when someone sets up to take their service leave, if they're after the 10-year point, do they have to tell you at the beginning that I'm going to take 1 and then they can come back, or can they say I'm just going to take 2 at the front?
Yeah,
And
they could, I
do that.
suppose. Right now, they could say, hey, I know it's 2 years, I'm gonna go sail a boat across the world or something. And that, of course, if you knew it was 2 years, that might be even more helpful for us, but you're only required to do it 1 year at a time. And that's, I can think of the other staff that have done it while I've been here. They've done it 1 year at a time, and different life situations, and one didn't come back and one did. So.
Just out of curiosity, are they eligible to be able to use school and to stay on our school insurance, but pay for it themselves while they're on leave?
That'd have been a Darlene question, and now I feel like I don't think so. I know, we treat them as if they've resigned but have privileges to the district. So they don't keep like their laptop and stuff like that. So they probably could Cobra it for that amount of time, but I'll add that to my list of things I'm gonna find out before next meeting.
You must not have needed to teach, I mean, the people who are leaving must not have needed to
Yeah.
do that, or you would have already set up, so you must have alternate insurance.
I'll move,
Go ahead.
I'll move that we approve the MOU with the DEA on service leave.
I'll second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And next is the superintendent report.
So alluded to earlier, Tori and I got to meet with the Myron team and just really talk through like, and this was different parts of the Myron team. This is Blake, who's the supervisor, and then the on-site superintendent. And so I just thought it was, they were in the building, they were doing the bid meeting, and just kind of working with Tori so that she understood when's the playground gonna be fenced off and what's the access gonna look like. And I guess I hadn't sat down and thought through that it was gonna happen even before the end of the school year, so. Good. And there was, Tori was able to say, well, it's not a lot, but how long could we keep the swings viable for? And so they might be able to have some flexibility. They will use the tennis court for staging, and they said, we're gonna start putting materials out there March 16th. They'd like to have access to the 24-hour lot February 9th. And that should work out. As you saw the paper, the city and the county have an agreement to move the recycling bins. So gotta make sure that they're out of there by that day. So, and I'll pause. Sorry, I'll defer to you if there's anything else that you add about our meeting with the construction guys.
They're really great to work with, very understanding of it being a school project and really keeping students at the center of it. They had some really cool ideas on how to include our students in the process. Because it is going to be right there, and so having like a viewing area or having some workers coming in and sharing with our students what they're doing at that particular time and how they're doing it. They just had some really neat ideas on how to give students agency and including them in the process, which is really exciting. You could tell that they've been a part of school projects before, not just projects. So I thought they're great to work with.
Yeah, that's a really good point as you start talking, and that's one thing that I was pretty excited about. And then they talked about maybe even having the possibility of, if we've had punch list done, getting a tour of part of the building.
Yeah.
And I thought you had a really good point, like if you're a second grader and you've had to sacrifice your recess playground area for a year and a half. It'd be nice at least, even if you can't go to the school, to at least walk through what it looks like.
Yeah, that's extra.
So,
Although actually seeing the big cool equipment is what they're really gonna be excited about.
Yeah, especially if they need it. Not all.
so, yeah, thanks, Tori. That's good reminders. Bid date.
Can I just ask
Oh,
one more
sure.
question? Just to clarify about the tennis courts, because I think this.
Yeah.
will be-
Yeah, that might need to be
This will
something.
be all of the tennis courts they will be using. There will be
Exactly.
one open after March
16th.
16th. So then the public needs to know that. And then also, do we have an alternate plan for our boys tennis season this year?
Yes, we do. And girls in the fall and boys in the spring of 2027 and girls in the fall for 2027 as well.
Preliminary conversation still over. I don't know, finalized practice schedules.
I think it would be nice to share this information about the tennis courts with the city of Decorah also. We have a press release. I just know, like, I empathize already with the people who use that during all the time.
Well, all the park and rec classes for tennis, plus maybe you two have younger children know if they still do the park and rec, like day camp kind of thing at John Klein like they used to?
Yes.
After school things, they do, so we need to let them know if that I assume that won't be available, or if it will, or
There's
whatever, that does need to be a discussion with the city.
Mark Holte and I had preliminary conversations as it relates to many layers of their summer programming, in addition to pickleballers.
Okay, so you've already been in touch with Mark. Okay,
So thank you.
great.
And I previously have let Travis know deadlines and stuff, so I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody, but it doesn't hurt to get as much word out.
We now have exact dates,
Right.
which we didn't have. We had
Right.
preliminary pieces, but we have some exact dates.
Along with the work beginning and you might be able to answer this, how much space is going to be taken up by this March 16th for?
Yeah, quite a bit. Basically a line from the tennis courts south. So that cuts through all the grassy, which is now swampy play area.
So we will get the playground still, hopefully until March, the equipment. And then I walked through with Curtis today, actually, he's gonna take some of those hedges down directly behind our first grade classroom, so that green area is available to play to. So we have.
Yep, just starting to
Yep.
think about where they're gonna go. I remember being a teacher and walking 4 blocks to get to recess with the kids one year, so.
As far as now, we're still talking about the site, just to share with you in our conversation that we had with them on Friday. We talked about the playground and the ice and the slush and the drainage problems, and they happened to have just been here in town and seen it all the previous Wednesday. So we talked about, I asked, are we gonna make sure that there's fill brought in to raise that up so that we don't continue to have that problem? And they definitely, that's part of the plan. So that should really help solve a lot of the drainage issues and a lot of the ice issues that we have every winter and spring on that playground. Of course, the playground will be located in a different area too, which is a little higher. So hopefully we're gonna get it, that's been solved.
Well, that was pointed out, that was our meeting on Wednesday where we did that little quick walk, was pointed out, and I forget if it was Blake or Sam,
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah,
other two, one of them, their point was, you can put turf there, you're still gonna have ice and slush because it's low, so, yeah, we know we have to build it up, so that's encouraging. So moving forward past construction timeline, bid day, right now, bid day is January 22nd. They did mention that, it's possible that they would move it to, January 28th, which is that's a Thursday. That'll start at 2:30, but they're gonna open up the virtual meeting at 2:15. Being as that's a public meeting, anybody can attend. I will get that information to the board members on how to log on. And we will post it as a possible quorum. Obviously, there wouldn't be any board member discussion or decisions made. You guys, if you're interested, can watch the meeting. I'm sure we'll get the results out as soon as we can after that. So the bids are due at 2 p.m. Other bids that we've had, like when we have the roofing bids, like we meet in this room, there's usually about 3 or 4 bids and we just open them and say the numbers and we're done in 5 or 10 minutes. This is gonna be a much more extensive process with all the different components. And Myron, as a construction company, is self-bidding parts of it. And then for the fairness part, they're sending their bids to Emergent. So their Emergent will then reveal their bids at the meeting. So that January 22nd or possibly January 28th will be a very exciting day. And I would encourage everybody who is able to log in. But like I said, we'll get the results out as soon as we can.
And you're gonna invite Curtis to listen in.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
We talked about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it sounded like we already have a lot of qualified contractors that have expressed interest in it.
Yeah,
So this is good news. I mean.
yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
not like, it's not like all of a sudden we're gonna say, $5 million in the project, but yeah, it's better than showing up at a pre-bid meeting and having one person for each element. They were excited about the number of bidders. They've done work to reach out to local folks. They had just had a bid opening for a different school district and the market was pretty competitive. So we're crossing our fingers for that because this would be a pretty important day for this whole project. So, I'd like to have a couple special meetings. One of them is going to be to review the bids. And then if I could get a date from Travis, and he just emailed me. So if you'll, I'm gonna review the comprehensive school budget, but I like Travis to do it for the board. So I'll make a video kind of as a precursor. Travis would be in Elkader on the 29th. I think that's maybe a
Friday.
Thursday.
Friday, I think.
On my
Yeah,
calendar, it's a
Thursday.
So he could be up here at 5 p.m. I know that doesn't work super great for you, Aaron, necessarily.
Really, no.
And he would just kind of walk us through our 5-year forecast, which, if we thought we could do that day, that just is a day he could, Travis could be here in person, which is why I suggested that. I didn't know if that worked for the board, and we can do that offline too. I could probably get some other days, but I assume it would most likely would be better if it was later for you. Aaron,
Or earlier.
or earlier.
Yeah, you could kind of slide either direction. Practice starts at 4:15, classes get done at 4, so. I have flexibility up until about that 4 o'clock mark and then.
Oh, okay, so like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
Is actually much more convenient, yes.
But Lily and I all.
Yeah,
work
I
time,
was
so,
gonna say, there's,
yeah, I don't know what's best. I would like, this is something that I don't want to meet missing anyone. We need to have some serious conversation and creative think time. So let's.
Well, I'll circle back. I'll ask Travis what 6:30 looks like with the dates he gave me and.
Let's start there. Let's start with
Start with that.
6:30 and see if he has any flexibility with that.
All right. And we will have another meeting that we'll want to gather on just to kind of, so that's the special, just a school budget. But we also want to have a discussion about the project and the bids. And so can't even remember what day I sent out.
February 2nd.
February 2nd is tentatively the night for that.
And we need to keep those as separate meetings.
I think it would, I think it would be pretty heavy if we tried to do them both at the same time.
So thanks in advance for your time.
Yeah. Well, we
So
had
we
that,
get paid the big bucks.
we had that big string of special meetings as Ron's going away president, and
Right.
Lily hasn't had too many, so.
Went hollow though.
She was there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She wasn't getting paid yet.
Yeah. I stand corrected. So we have a booster club donation coming from that want to make a donation on the flagpole. That did go to Board of Adjustment and got approved by the Board of Adjustment last Wednesday. I know Mr. Riley's in the audience. I got asked some questions that I didn't always have the answers to, but the donation is for a 100-foot flagpole. I don't know what size the flag is, but a very large flag.
20 by 30.
And with the design that it would be visible for football, baseball, softball, but it wouldn't be up all the time. It would just be lit and put out on nights of special events or or games. So. The community, it came to us from the community, and they're working with the Booster Club to make that donation. So
Is it actually the Booster Club that is
it
in
is-
charge of this and put this forward, or this was a community group that went to the Booster Club? And
I don't,
the second one, this is a community group that wants to do this, and they are kind of moving through the Booster Club as a kind of a vehicle. This-
Actually find that very problematic, that not the functionality of, it puts us in a sticky situation of, we're gonna approve something after it's already been fundraised for and after it's already been.
But I'm not sure that it,
Just.
I'm not sure that it, will it be on a, and I want to be careful about not having too deep of discussion. I'm okay with us asking questions that we can find answers to. So one of my questions, I mean, you're giving us an update now,
Mhm.
but will this be on a board agenda?
Well, we have a board policy on donations. We have not, to my knowledge, ever had something come to the board as a result of it. So, and we've gotten other sizable donations. And that's like, would it have been cleaner in this situation and in previous situations? 100%.
But we have not, as a board, been educated about this other than just community announcements. That's the first time that we had heard of it, so.
Which I think is problematic, because as you say, when we get to that point where we're discussing it, they've already done all the fundraising, it makes it very difficult to make any change in the plans, or possibly not.
Right. And so like I had said, we noted before about policy. I think the best we can do is review our policies, make sure they're clear, educate our staff about policies and move forward. So I've already reached out to IASB just to start thinking about how we can, and we can review we have a current gift policy as well, so. But we can dig into that another time. I don't want to. We're not making decisions right now, and it's not a formal item on our agenda. And then the last thing on your report is the.
Oh, Curtis,
Conference.
yeah, good. I just shared that because Curtis asked, could I go to the winter conference? I know when he went last year, he came back with about 3 or 4 ideas, and that's leaning into Curtis's strong suit as someone who likes to be a learner and likes to ask questions. And I could think of the automated spray painter. I think that was something that he went and saw demonstrated. And like we give reports when we go to the Iowa schools, or we did this year, we went to the Iowa Association of School Boards. I think Curtis would have a really good report if he came back, because he had that idea. And then working with, I can't think of the company he's working with to set up the work standards for the custodial staff, which is something that I've wanted in every district I've been in, and not ever had a structure or format to do that. And so Curtis is working with a company called Hilliard to do that. So that's exciting stuff. So I know just talked to Curtis today, no, it's not on here. He's working with trying to come up with some of the ideas to meet some of the things for our energy conservation. So good stuff.
Good.
We appreciate all that Curtis does.
Yeah,
It's been an
yeah.
excellent addition to the school district.
Very much so.
Keep going, Curtis. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda, so I'll call the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.